President Barack Obama travels to Kenya and Ethiopia next week to further U.S.-Africa relations. Those relations are challenged by an ongoing conflict in South Sudan, a political crisis in Burundi with concerns regarding presidential term limits, and the fight against terrorism on the continent. For President Obama, the trip to Kenya could also be deeply personal. My colleague, Paul Sisco, has more.
I stand before you as the President of the United States and a proud American. I also stand before you as the son of a man from Africa.
Building on progress made at the U.S.-African Leaders Summit in Washington last summer, President Obama is making his fourth trip to Sub-Saharan Africa since becoming president. He'll attend the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Nairobi, Kenya, July 25th and 26th. His visit to Kenya also fulfills a pledge made early in his presidency to return to his father's homeland. The U.S. president is expected to discuss security and other mutual concerns with Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta before moving on to Ethiopia. Mr. Obama will become the first ever sitting president to go to Ethiopia and its capital, Addis Ababa. He's scheduled to meet with the Ethiopian leadership, visit the headquarters of the African Union, and address its leadership. President Obama's trip to East Africa comes as deadly fighting continues unabated in South Sudan between forces loyal to President Salva Kiir and those supporting opposition leader Riek Machar. The political crisis in Burundi is deepening in response to President Pierre Nkurunziza's bid to seek a third term. The opposition is refusing to participate in presidential elections. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs Linda Thomas-Greenfield says it's up to the Burundian government to stop the violence.
We call on the president to take responsibility for ensuring that the violence ends and that there is no retaliation against demonstrators who are peacefully demonstrating to support their views that the president should not seek a third term.
The thrice-delayed presidential vote is now set for Tuesday, July 21st. Until now, President Obama has avoided visiting African nations like Ethiopia, which is struggling with governance challenges and where the same party has been in power for 25 years, and Kenya, a nation struggling to combat recent terrorist attacks. Kenya's ambassador to the U.S., Robinson Gate, says everyone should be worried about militants and extremists.
Terrorism is a global problem. It's not a Kenyan problem.
The U.S. agrees.
We are strongly committed to assisting African countries to increase their capacity to address the immediate threats posed by terrorist organizations and to prevent terrorists from using the region to recruit, seek sanctuary, secure resources, and financing from their people.
With this historic trip, President Obama reaffirms America's consistent support for the emerging continent and will continue raising good governance issues with his African counterparts.
To the new Africa, the Africa that is rising and so full of promise, and to our shared task to keep on working for the peace and prosperity and justice that all our people seek and that all our people so richly deserve.
Paul Sisco, VOA News.